Hi, I'm Tom Tripp, and I am a Professor of Management and also Associate Dean of Undergraduate Programs for the Carson College of Business, and I reside mostly out at the Vancouver campus. Now, I have a somewhat easier job perhaps than most because I teach skills-based courses. And perhaps the easiest job I have is a course I teach called Negotiation Skills. And first of all, it's a skill that most students believe that they're going to need, and they're right, they will. And there's a method by which they learn, and this is a class, I think it's true of many classes, if not most classes, but particularly this class, this subject, is to learn by doing. So all they do all semester long is they do a role-playing negotiation game. So one student pretends to be buyer, the other pretends to be seller. They get together, they do a fictional negotiation, which has some sort of fictional outcome. And I pair up all the students like this, and then I post the results next class, and we talked about how well they played the game, how well they negotiated. And I give them another game, and they talk about the game. I give them another game, and they talk about the game. It's all we do all semester for the most part. And you know, they play games. Games are fun. Games are engaging. You know, they're motivated. They're also intrinsically motivated because nobody wants to be on the wrong end of a lopsided deal. It's embarrassing. So, and I post all the results in class. So there's a lot of sort of intrinsic motivation. Another thing that works particularly well in many courses, especially skills courses, is I like to tell horror stories. So, you know, I may be teaching some particularly in my leadership class, I'll be teaching some sort of concept, and then we'll do, say, an exercise or a case study. And to take a case study, and there's some character in the case study, a person or a manager or business, who had they only understood the concepts we've been talking about the previous week or two, would have avoided the horrible fate they found themselves in. They wouldn't have gone out of business, they wouldn't have been fired, these types of things. And that tends to grab students' attention because nobody wants that outcome. So through horror stories, you know, you can sort of sell that this is why this topic's important. And I think part of intrinsic motivation is constantly selling your topic. Don't just assume that they're going to understand it's important. You've got to convince them of it. And then they'll pay more attention. The other thing to do in terms of keeping them motivated is keeping them engaged in class. I found some recent research that shows, and my own experience suggests as well, that after about 15 minutes of lecture, students tune out. And it's really hard to hold their attention. So one of the things that really helps to do is to mix it up. Constantly change. You know, you lecture for, and by lecture I mean straight monologue. I'm not talking about a more interactive style of lecture where you're asking students questions and pulling answers and experiences out of them. But you want to mix it up with, it might be with video, it might be with exercise, it might be a homework problem, depending on what it is that you're teaching. And this will help them keep paying attention in class. And make them more likely to want to come to class because they won't feel, after a half hour of sitting through a monologue, they're just, no matter what the subject, they're just getting kind of tired. So that's, I think, another tip that's really helpful for getting their intrinsic motivation up to do well in the course.